Thanks to Clay-Per-View. Speaking of Clay-Per-View, boy, oh boy, are there some Australian titles on Clay-Per-View this weekend.
Massive.
Ryan Harris, a couple of Queenslanders, so we don't quite understand the March long weekend. Boy, oh boy, does it get some Speedway events around the country. Let's rattle this off. So this weekend, National Street Stock title at Latrobe, presented by Sea Road. Australian Wingless Sprint title at Mildura, thanks to Mildura Gateway. Australian AMCA Nationals title at High Tech Oils Toowoomba Speedway. Australian 360 LS Sprint Car title at Hastbury Stockfeed Simpson Speedway. And Australian Late Model title at the Perth Motorplex. 5 Australian titles on the one weekend.
Busy.
Bit on. Next weekend, of course, National Super Sedan title as well down at Murray Bridge, thanks to Blanks Automotive and Performance. So we've got a few titles to talk about in this this episode of Speedway Nation.
We've got about 90 seconds on each.
We touched on the National Street Stock title. You said Foley was your favourite memory.
It's one of them, yep.
But the Oldfield Bear thing for year after year after year after year after year. Kingaroy was a good one.
Yeah, they had a good battle.
They had a really good battle at Kingaroy. Neither of them finished.
Yes.
And
Reese Heinrich
got sent rear.
And drove back through the field to win. That was cool.
That was very good. But I'd have to say the Kalgoorlie battle between Oldfield and Barry was probably my favourite. I reckon we should probably touch on some of our favourite moments.
Yeah, or Red Line. It was a lung buster.
The photo.
The photo finish. Brad McClure.
Brad McClure had that shot to bits, 13 laps to go. Jason Crowe said no one will catch him. And then Barry reeled him in and passed. Poor old
0.004 of a second or something. It's a lung buster.
Poor old Brad McClure's got to relive that for the rest of his life. That's going to be a rough
that
one.
was cool. So that's Street Stock's tick.
So wingless sprints, 100-odd cars around Mildura this weekend. Wade will just be rocking and rolling there. He is going to have his work cut out for him.
They'll be really good around there. It'll actually be a really good race meeting.
And we touched on this about 6 months ago or something like that. The wingless Australian titles are underrated. I don't think there's been a bad one.
No.
Not in the last 5 or 6 years.
No.
Rained out at Murray Bridge, that sucked. Rained out before the A-Main. But there hasn't been a bad wingless title.
No, and I go back to Daniel Hardigan winning at Toowoomba all those years ago. That was a really cool event. Massive numbers. I remember Floody doing the corkscrew rollover. I got to commentate a national title at Carrick Speedway for wingless all those years ago. I think the fairy tale story's got to be Jacob Jolly last year for Paul O'Neill.
Yeah,
that tribute win will probably be something that a lot of us will remember for a long time.
And it's always fun to see a driver win at their home track. Like that always fills the heart a little bit. So probably Jolly last year was probably pretty impressive, but Kyle Mock's been fantastic in it. Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Kyle Mock won at Kalgoorlie.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right.
And then I'll go even further back to when Parramatta was in its heyday and all the sprint car drivers come and raced. Oh, well, even at Warrnambool. Same deal. Dan Mose won, but didn't win. Oh,
that's another controversy.
You get through post-race checks at a wingless title is amazing. I remember the chief steward. So we had rain at. I'm going over 90 seconds. We were the Australian wingless title at Parramatta Speedway. Gary Brazier was in the field. He was made to do. So everyone had a wheel pack because we had afternoon storm. Everyone went in wheel pack except for G. Braz. Wayne Baines, the chief steward, made Gary Brazier go out and wheel pack by himself to get his laps in like everyone else. It was fantastic. There was heaps of them there that year. Anyway, there's been great moments of wingless. It'll be a great event.
360 LS title at Simpson. They are
a bit new to us, really.
Well, the 360 LS thing pretty new to Queenslanders.
Yeah,
we're gonna get really excited about it the next couple of years.
National title at Toowoomba. How good!
Looking forward to that. Simpson's going to be a ripper place to hold the national title.
Yeah, it will be.
It's just 360 LS territory. They are always good around there. We don't really have favourite moments, but Jock and Jake Smith last lap, that's a heartbreaker for Jake Smith.
Yeah.
But Jock Goodyear taking the title, becoming the only driver to win a 360, a 410, and a Formula 500 title. All the winged divisions, all the winged Australian titles, the proper Australian titles.
Yeah,
that's
controversy. Yes.
We just need to get Jock in a speed car. If he wins a speed car Australian title, he's got everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? He's got all the open wheel titles.
He'd be good enough. So that'll be a great event as well. AMCA national title as well at Toowoomba. So that'll be good. Bruce Marshall, defending national champion, had a rollover at Gympie the other week, rebuilt the car.
Yeah, that's a bit of a thing to touch on in the lead up. Bruce Marshall's won more races than anyone around at Toowoomba in an AMCA national, but is there any hangovers from that? Matt Hardy, of course, won the 2019 edition at Toowoomba.
Yeah,
It'd be hard to
and he
beat
was-
around there.
Yeah, he was outstanding that weekend, and he always is. Those two have probably been the standouts this season at the place, at Toowoomba. Yeah, there's big field, great racing. AMCA Nationals, they suit it. If it's slick to the fence, it'll be pretty good. Sprint cars on the final night with it, so racetrack will be nice and wide, and it should be a cool event as well.
Now, we've left a little bit of time for this. The Australian late model title, Perth Motorplex. They've got sprint cars on the final night as well. Same deal, nice wide to the fence. That's exactly what you need for some late model action.
Jamie Oldfield will win.
You calling it early? No Vosberg, no Smoke and Joe. You're going to go Jamie O to win?
Jamie O or Kyle Bite.
Oh, I see. You see now we're a bit excited here. Now we're a bit excited. This will be a cracking Australian late model title.
It will
Motorplex suits them. They're really good. I still harken back to the fact that Queensland got one over. We've been smoked ever since, but Queensland got one over the West Aussies early.
Yep.
Alan Butcher winning the first ever one.
Oh yes.
That hits right there in the heart for me. Queensland got one over the West Aussies early, but we've been smoked ever since.
Oh, no. Well, Darren Kane's won two. He won one at Murray Bridge past Fosberg and around the outside late to win, and then did the same at Kingaroy on the roughest track I'd ever produced in my life. That was the Australian...
Jamie Oldfield called it the worst racetrack he's ever raced on in history.
Yeah, I reckon his ribs are still sore. But, yeah, that was a heck of a race, mate, and it was hooked up. Absolutely crazy. Steve Francis ripped down the back straight fence and half the speakers wires. It was a disaster. He did I think the lap record still from that night from the dash after a quick grade, and it was smooth. And Steve Francis was
that's probably
unbelievable.
The wildest Australian title I've ever been to. The Australian late model title at Kingaroy in 2015. I raced that night in the support classes, and then I went and stood on the infield for the feature.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I could see the white of Jamie Oldfield and Darren Kane's eyes down the back straight away. The track was that rough and they were that wild.
Well, there was a stoppage. So lap 27, there was a stoppage, 13 laps to run. There was some conjecture about even stopping the race at that point because it was too rough and regrade the racetrack. Darren Kane counted how many tear-offs he had left on his helmet. The guy's a star and goes, I have 13 tear-offs, so that's one a lap for the rest of this race.
Yeah.
Drove past the Oldfields for the win to get number one Australian title in late models, which is his now seventh national title that he's won in the two classes. But then to see the title and the event at Toowoomba last year was so cool to be part of. That first night, the prelim night, was off the Richter scale for racing. It was just absolutely phenomenal to see how. So that'll be a really cool event at the Motorplex this year as well, mate.